Welcome back to Local Flavor. I'm Deborah Anderson, and today we're going to be making one of our family's favorite dishes, and we serve it at all our parties, and we call it Burrito Bowls. It's going to look a lot like what you get at Qdoba or like Chipotle, but we live a long way from those stores, and so we needed to learn to make it ourselves so that we could have it as often as we wanted it. And I'll tell you something, when you control all the ingredients yourself, you'll find out you love it a lot better anyway, because you can season it just the way you want. So there's a lot of steps in this, a lot of things to make, but they're all really easy. So we're gonna get right to it. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roast my poblanos, because this will take some time. I'm gonna put them in the toaster oven on broil. And it'll take about 10 minutes each side. And poblanos are kind of triangular, so sometimes you have to do 3 sides, just depending. When I'm going to do them in the toaster oven so that I can keep an eye on them, because you want to watch for them to blister on top and get a char to them. Then flip them over and do the same thing on the other side. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just painting on some olive oil with a basting brush. And this one is a silicone basting brush. I like it because I feel like I can get it cleaner when I'm done. So I like to also salt it just a little bit. So this is sea salt. It's just from World Market. Oh, so was my olive oil. Great value at World Market on these products. I think this was like $6 or $7. That is amazing for olive oil. So they're a long way away, but if you happen to be in a town that has them, I would get them. Now, for this recipe, you'll see what's on your screen, or will be on your screen, will say 3 poblanos. My crock pot that I'm gonna make these in is really, really small. So I'm actually doing a 2/3 recipe. So that's why I only have 2. It also fits really better on my pan there. So the other ingredients we'll also put in. Like it calls for 1.5 cups of Monterey Jack, and 1.5 cups of white cheddar. Now, how much is in here? You know, when you get the shredded kind, it says that 8 ounces is a cup. So these are both 8 ounces. So you would need, to get 1.5 cups, you'd need 1.5. So 1 will work fine for this. I do want to tell you that when you're working with real cheese, that was white cheddar. I was going to show you the label. But when you're working with real cheese, it's very touchy. You need to melt it all the way. But if you get it too hot, it will curdle and be totally disgusting. So it's kind of touchy. I'll tell you the truth is that if you want to be sure and get it smooth your first time, you can use the white Velveeta. The Velveeta, it comes in a 16-ounce box. So if you do it that way, just use this same recipe amount, because it's a 16-ounce brick. So these are 2 8-ounce. 1 is white cheddar, 1 is Monterey Jack. And what I'm doing, this is nothing I learned in school. This is actually a French fry cutter. It's an antique French fry cutter, and I just do it to quickly get it cubed up, because it's all gonna melt, so it doesn't have to look very pretty. But I will finish some of that during break, because that has taken a long time, and we have a lot of things to put in. The next thing we want to put in, your recipe says 1 cup of whipping cream, so I'm going to put 2/3, because we're doing a 2/3 recipe. The one thing I'm going to cheat on, though, is I'm not going to do a 2/3 can of Rotel, because Rotel is so awesome. Just do it all. And there's several optional things you can add. So why not one of the optional things be extra Rotel? So this is heavy whipping cream I'm putting in. And then a full can of Rotel. Some other things you might add are like cumin or salt, garlic. I find that it's salty enough for me. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. The poblano peppers will need to go too. So what I'm going to add is a little bit of onion, just a tiny bit, and I have it cut really, really small. I'm not going to add any salt. I'm not going to add garlic either. I think this has plenty of flavor. I'm just going to add a little bit of onion. And the other thing I'm going to add for my optional ingredient is roasted red peppers, just because anytime I can sneak a red pepper into anything, I'm all about that. So we'll have roasted poblanos and roasted reds. These you just buy. They usually come in olive oil, so I'll try and get as much off as I can. I like them cut pretty small. Most people won't notice it's in there because they'll think it's the tomatoes. So nothing happening with my poblanos yet. It will take about 10 minutes per side. So I can get this started melting before I actually have to I can put the poblanos in later. They'll be fully cooked. Okay. The other thing I need to make in advance, because I like the seasonings to work together, is my pico de gallo. And this is 6 Roma tomatoes that I have already cut up. I used Roma because they don't have quite as much juice in them. And if you like them juicy, you can even use a can of petite, or probably 2 cans of petite diced tomatoes, if you like it a little juicier, but typically they're not very juicy. So I got 6. This is 1 jalapeno that I cut up. I try to cut it up really tiny because whenever I'm at a restaurant and I get a big bite of jalapeno, it makes me gasp for air for a minute. Wow. And then I need a little bit of onion, 1 small onion. This one was a little bit bigger than small, so I'm gonna not put the whole thing in. I love how fresh that looks. I need a 1/2 cup of chopped cilantro, and I'm chopping it with some herb shears I got in downtown Hayes. I've pre-chopped a little of it before we started filming, and I love these. They just have several blades so that you can work through it quickly. Whenever I make this, I swear what takes the longest is cutting the cilantro. Everything else is pretty simple. This is also simple, it's just extremely time consuming. I did rinse the cilantro leaves, but they're easier to work with when they dry, so I leave them on a paper towel for a while. A 1/2 cup measuring of this to put in. Don't worry if you get extra because cilantro is the bomb, and it's kind of polarizing. If you don't like cilantro, you really hate it. So people who don't like it say it tastes like soap, some of them. And I'm going to put some seasonings in this too. This definitely needs a little salt. I actually am going to use garlic salt. I have a clove of garlic here, or a head of garlic, but for this, since it's not being cooked, I really prefer the garlic salt so it's not quite so hot. When you're cooking something, the head of garlic is better. And I like a little cumin. And one thing you'd really love in it is lime juice. Oops, there's one little blister, but they're not burned enough yet. The only way to tell if you're getting good with the pico is to taste it and see if you need to add more flavors. You'll want it the way you like it. You're probably going to eat it on food or on chips, and so, oh yeah, I brought this. I have a hard time with limes. I thought I'll try this and see if it's easier. Oh yes. We all got to have these. I tried it for an orange though, and it did not fit. So this one's actually made for a lemon. I thought lime would be about the same size. Since you're going to be eating it with food, it's easy just to taste it with a chip and see if you've got the seasonings right. Can you see this? Doesn't it look beautiful? I'm gonna grab a chip real quick and taste it. Because you might need some more salt. And I've used the salt and the garlic together, so. No way, I got it on the first try. That never happens. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of oregano. It won't change the flavor that much. Now, we should probably take a break. I'm gonna put a lid on this and let the flavors meld together while we break. During the break, I'm gonna finish putting this cheese in our queso dip, and I'm gonna get these turned and finished, and I'm gonna put them in a steam box. For my steam box, you can do it with a bag. I'm just gonna use a bowl with a lid, and while they cool, it'll help steam the skin off. So that's what I'll do during the break. I'll be busy. Go get your snack. I'll be back later.
Make a difficult choice an easy one with Cedar View Assisted Living's knowledgeable and caring staff. Your loved one will be professionally taken care of as they transition into their new community. With movies, holiday parties, planned exercises, and games, residents will have opportunities every day to enjoy their time at Cedar View. Multiple room styles are available, ensuring a just right fit for your loved one. Come see Cedar View Assisted Living for yourself next to Sternberg Museum. The care you need, the home you want.
Welcome back to Local Flavor. Our poblano peppers are blistering really nicely. They're still working on the char, so I'll take them out here in a few minutes, but we're gonna get the cilantro lime rice started. And we're gonna need 2.5, no, this one has 2 cups, this one has 2.5. I need a total of 4.5 cups of water. And then I have 2 cups of rice. Now, anyone who knows me know that I use parboiled rice. I like it because it doesn't stick together and it's really hard to mess up. And people like it, I think. So that's parboiled rice. This is 2 tablespoons of butter. Now, sometimes they say for the recipe to put the lime in at the end, but I really like the lime soaked into the rice. So I put some in now, and then I put some fresh lime at the end. And then what am I missing? I think it's salt. 2 teaspoons of salt. This is also something you can taste and see if you get enough. It'll taste like the water, but I'm going to stir this just once at the beginning. You are a naughty. I'm just trying to imagine how much of that's flying all over is actually going into there. But your rice will taste like whatever the water tastes like, so I'm going to take a quick taste of the water. I'm going to get this to a boil and then lower the heat a little bit and put the lid on it so it can go. And let me taste the water. Yes, that's very good. That's very good. And so I'm going to start this. This is a induction cooktop. I'm going to put it on to start it to boil. I'm going to start it on really high. And did I get everything in there? The cilantro goes in at the end for sure, because the cilantro is a lot better if it's put in fresh. If you put it in now, it's going to boil and turn really like spinach. You know, it will look really dark green, so you don't want that. Now let me check on this. I'm going to go ahead and call it good with these peppers, and I'm going to get them in our steam box. Let me make some room here. Do not, after you just stir that rice to get the flavors mixed, do not stir it anymore, or it gets like this gooey, thick cream in it, and it's really disgusting. So these are our peppers. These are the blisters I was talking about, and this is my steam box. So this is what's they're gonna cool in there, and when they're cool, we'll tear them apart and put them in our cheese dip. But they need to get cool enough to work with, and having them in here means that the steam will help get the skin off, because that's the hardest part. Okay, I've got that going. And I'm gonna also make the beans on an induction cooktop, but they really heat up quickly, so they don't need a whole lot of cooking. So I'm gonna just get them ready in the pan and cook them while I'm cooling the rice and tossing the cilantro into it. That's when they'll cook. So I have 2 cans of black beans. One is supposed to be drained. I have found this particular brand of beans does not really have much juice, so I don't feel it's necessary to drain them. But some of them have a lot of juice on top. This one did not. Now this is a mixture of all the spices that go in the black beans other than the garlic. And I'll just name off what they are. It's a teaspoon of chili powder, a half a teaspoon of cumin, an 1/8 of a teaspoon of allspice, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon, just a teeny bit of sugar. Do not put in too much sugar thinking, oh, that's not enough, because you don't want them sweet, too sweet. So I've got the seasonings going in, and then I'm just going to crush a clove of garlic into it. And I use fresh garlic because it's going to be cooked, so it cooks down some of that hot flavor. Oh, I better find a smaller one that will fit in my press. This is just a roller that helps get the skin off your garlic. Except for this one, of course. Well, we still have a lot to do, so while I crush, I actually just will put it in with the skin because it's not going to go through. Ooh, this is still a big one. I hope my garlic press can handle it. Ay, caramba. Need a break. Okay. That's hard work. But this is, black beans out of the can don't taste very good, but just these few little spices, it still looks like black beans, but it's going to taste awesome. So when my rice is done, I'll stick these on, and everything should be finishing up about the same time then. I'm going to get my meat out. We just grilled it on the Traeger, and it's been rusting, and I'll get my meat out to slice and put on top. Okay, come back when that's ready.
You can have all the channels in the world, but without the network to deliver the signal, you've still just got TV. At Nex-Tech, we've got the channels, HD, video on demand, TV everywhere, and we have the fiber network for you, because we've got these guys, and these guys, and these guys, and these guys. Nex-Tech, our fiber network, products, and people are here for you.
Are you looking to tone up in the convenience of your own home? Then join the Hayes Rec instructors for HRC at-home fitness on Nex-Tech TV. Each week, instructors will teach a new class that will be featured on Nex-Tech Channel 1 and 106 multiple times during the day. So tune in and tone up with HRC at-home fitness on Nex-Tech TV.
Welcome back. While you were gone, I've been pretty busy. I got out the stuff because it's almost ready to eat. So I got everything out so we'll be ready to build our burrito bowls. And we've got, the rice was done, so I'm taking it off and letting it kind of situate itself. And I've done one of the poblano peppers, and I thought I'd do the other one along with you. So this was my steamer box so that it will make the skin really easy to pull off. Let me see if you can see this. Anywhere where the blisters are, you can get that nasty skin off. It is kind of unpleasant, really, but they smell delicious and they taste delicious. So, small price to pay. You're going to get dirty some way. Might as well be with poblano peppers. I find this really easy to pull out. Most of the seeds are at the top with the stem. I'm going to put them using my trash. And then we're going to cut these to put into the queso. Then I'm going to run them over to put them in the queso where it's plugged in, and I'll stir it really quick and bring it back over here so we can. These are totally cooked and they're still a little bit warm, so they will not ruin our queso at all or need to be heated up anymore. But the queso, I will tell you, depending on your crock pot, leave it on low, because if you have too high a heat, you will curdle that cheese and it's disgusting and grainy. But mine is really slow. It takes hours for that stuff to melt. Again, sometimes I just cheat and put the Velveeta because it's just so much faster and melts so smooth. My beans are going pretty hot. I'll be putting this out, and I wanted to show you how I could tell when the rice was done. I did not stir it because you cannot stir it, it will be gross, but it has the little holes in it. So if you look at that, you can see the little kind of like, I would call them prairie dog holes or something like that. Stir that up. Perfect. Wipe the hands. And the queso is done. Yummy, yummy queso. And I like to use this little tiny spoon to stir with. This is the one I also used to get some water out. So these were boiling. They are done. These do not need cooked very long, just heated up. So I got them to boiling. That's fine enough. I'm actually going to turn off my cooktop. Get rid of this, and I'm ready to build my bowl. I have two kinds of meat. I'm going to put in both kinds. You could choose one or the other. I made some steak and some chicken. With both of them, they're just ones we cooked on the Traeger. With the chicken, I put some chili powder and some lime juice and a little bit of little Audrey's. Gives it, kind of amps up the hickory smoke with the Traeger. Again, I like to cut these really, really fine so you get a little bite of chicken in each bite. And you stretch it a lot further. I found that normally I'd eat maybe two of these little tenderloins. I like the tenderloins. They don't have as much stuff to cut off of them. You know, the breasts have more fat and stuff on them. So I find that I really only want half a tenderloin. It kind of helps, so you can make your meat go longer. Then I have a steak, and what I have seasoned it with is cumin and chili powder, little Audrey's, and I'm also going to cut it super thin. And I'll just say that in our household, we do not cut the whole thing up. We only cut up what we want to eat at that meal, because we all have leftovers, and then it will stay nice and fresh and as moist as possible. Won't dry out so badly. Also, if you're having leftovers with it, these are still nice and they're cooled enough to touch, but not enough to be cold. If you're having leftovers, then you don't have to heat up the meat and get it all dried out in the microwave. If it's really sliced thin, you can put it in between hot rice and beans and the hot warm queso on top, and it's enough to get the meat warmed up. Because the more you tangle with it, the drier it's going to get. Okay, I'm going to build it up now. Oh my. You can make them in a tortilla, and I have some tortillas for all my friends coming over, but I'm going to make mine in a bowl. That's how we like it. And I have to finish my rice. Dang, I got to fluff it up. I need to put a little bit more lime juice like I promised. Sorry, I forgot my rice. And I'm going to add the cilantro, but you just need to toss it. There's no more hard work to be done on that. Just that is going to give it such a fresh ending with that lime juice. And it takes about a half cup of cilantro Never feel guilty if you use more. Everyone loves cilantro. So toss that in and see how adding it at the end keeps the green really fresh looking and makes the flavor better. Dried cilantro is just not as good as fresh cilantro. So start with your rice. Add some beans on top. I'm actually using a slotted spoon for the beans because I don't like a lot of juice. I like more rice is my favorite. Beans is second favorite. Then I like to put the pico on next. Usually at home we just use shredded cheese. But I made the special queso today, so I definitely want to try it on this. I'm putting both meats on, Evel Knievel. And this, if we use the regular cheese, I got sour cream here for the ones who don't like queso. They can use the regular cheese and then sour cream. And there's my bowl. It looks a lot like what you get at the fancy store. And let me make sure. Trust me, it tastes even better. You want to make it so you can control all those flavors. So, I gotta go. This is too good to sit and tell you more about it. I'm gonna finish my bowl. You join us next time on Local Flavor.